Little boy who can't see reaches out to a castle guard, and his reply is pure emotional real life. Ethan was a little boy with a big heart and an even bigger curiosity about the world. Unlike other children his age, he had never seen the colors of the sky, the faces of his friends, or the many shapes and patterns that people often take for granted. Born blind, Ethan had grown up learning about the world in different ways, through touch, sound, smell, and the voices of those around him. Every day was an adventure, even within the small world of his home. But today was special. Today, Ethan was going to visit a castle. It was a castle that had stood for hundreds of years, with tall stone walls and heavy wooden gates that creaked when opened. Stories of kings, queens, knights, and hidden treasures filled the place, and Ethan had heard every story from his parents countless times. But now he was going to feel the castle for himself, explore it in his own way, and discover its secrets with his hands. His father had told him that castles were like giant stories made of stone, and Ethan liked to imagine every story as a little world he could step into. The morning was crisp and bright, though Ethan couldn't see the sunlight sparkling on the castle's walls. He could feel it on his skin, warm and soft against his cheeks. The wind carried the smell of fresh grass and the faint scent of old stone. He reached out his tiny hands, letting the cool air brush across his fingers, and felt a thrill he could not describe. To him, every sensation was a clue to the world around him, a way to understand the stories his parents told. His parents walked beside him, holding his hand sometimes, guiding him gently over uneven stones and pointing out interesting things in words. "Ethan, can you feel the gate? It's made of heavy oak wood," his mother said. He ran his fingers along the surface, feeling the ridges and knots, tracing the grain with care. "It's strong," he said, his voice filled with awe. "I think someone must have worked really hard to make it." His father smiled. "Yes, people worked for years to build this place, little one. Long before you were born, knights walked these halls." Ethan's imagination ran wild with the stories of knights in shining armor, of kings who ruled with wisdom, and queens who were clever and brave. He imagined a knight standing tall on the stone floor, the weight of his armor pressing against him, and the clinking sound of metal echoing in the halls. He imagined sneaking through secret corridors and hearing whispers of adventures long ago. To other children, it might seem like fantasy, but for Ethan, every story was a world he could almost touch. As they approached the main courtyard, Ethan stopped. He raised his hands in front of him, as if reaching for something he could not see, and smiled. "It smells old," he said, "and strong like stories." His mother laughed softly. "That's the stone and the walls, Ethan. They've been here for hundreds of years. They carry the memories of everyone who ever lived here." Ethan's small hands brushed against the air, and he tried to imagine the echo of footsteps, the soft rustling of long-forgotten gowns, the clatter of swords and shields during nightly training. Every sound he imagined became real in his mind, as real as anything he could feel. Ethan was not just curious, he was brave. He wanted to explore the castle by himself, to discover as much as he could. He had grown up learning that being blind didn't mean being limited. Every day, he learned new ways to understand the world. He learned to read Braille, to identify objects by shape and texture, and to listen carefully to the smallest sounds. Every sense was sharper because one was missing, and Ethan used them all to build his own picture of life. He touched the stone walls of the castle, and they felt cold but solid. The cracks and rough surfaces told him about the age of the building. He could almost imagine the hands of the builders, worn and strong, carving the walls hundreds of years ago. He paused for a moment, feeling the cool air and the vibrations under his feet as visitors moved around him. There were other children running and laughing, their voices carrying across the courtyard, but Ethan didn't mind. He listened to everything, the laughter, the distant sound of bells, the flap of flags in the wind. Every noise added another layer to the castle's story, "I can hear the flags," he said quietly. "They're waving high up." His father nodded. "Yes, they are, Ethan. Up on the tall towers. You can't see them, but you can imagine them." Ethan smiled. He always liked to imagine things. As they moved further inside, Ethan ran his hands along the edges of arches and windows. The walls were rough, some parts smoother than others, telling him where people had touched them over the centuries. He loved imagining the past, children running through these halls hundreds of years ago, knights practicing for battle, and servants carrying food and candles. "I can feel the history," he said, almost to himself. His parents exchanged a glance and smiled. They had always known that Ethan experienced the world differently, but moments like this reminded them how rich his imagination was. Then something caught Ethan's attention. A tall figure stood near the gate, dressed in a uniform different from the other people around. His small hands reached out instinctively, not because he could see the person, but because he sensed something different. The man's voice was firm but kind, and Ethan's curiosity grew. He wanted to know more. "Who's that?" he asked, turning his head slightly toward the figure. His father knelt down to explain. "That's a castle guard, Ethan. He's here to protect the castle and the people inside." Ethan's small fingers twitched with excitement. "Can I talk to him?" His parents nodded, sensing that this encounter could be special. Ethan's steps were careful but confident as he approached the guard. He raised his little hands in greeting and asked questions, relying on the sound of the guard's voice and the feel of the air around him. "Hello," he said. "Are you a real knight?" The guard, whose name was Officer James, chuckled softly. He could see the boy's enthusiasm and innocence, and it made him smile. "I'm a guard, little one, but I protect the castle just like a knight." Ethan's imagination soared. He could not see Officer James, but he felt the presence of someone strong and kind. "Do you wear armor?" he asked, his fingers moving slightly as if he could feel it from afar. The guard knelt down to meet Ethan at his level and described every detail: the metal plates, the leather straps, and the weight he carried. Ethan listened intently, his mind painting a picture far more vivid than anything sight alone could offer. For Ethan, this was more than a castle visit. It was a journey into a world where imagination and reality met, where history could be felt, heard, and touched. Every step, every word, and every sound was part of a story he was creating in his own heart. He ran his fingers along the stone again, smiled, and whispered, "This place is alive." His parents felt their hearts swell with pride. Their little boy, who could not see, was discovering magic in a way few ever did. As they continued toward the inner courtyard, Ethan's excitement grew. The castle was not just a building. It was a story, a puzzle, and an adventure waiting to be felt. And for Ethan, every moment was precious. Every touch, every sound, every description from his parents or Officer James made the world more vivid, more alive. And as the boy moved forward, guided by curiosity and courage, it was clear that this visit to the castle would be remembered forever, not because of what could be seen, but because of what could be felt in the heart. Ethan's small hand hovered in the air as he felt the presence of the castle guard nearby. The boy had never met someone like him before, a tall, steady figure standing so still yet so alive with purpose. Though Ethan could not see, he sensed strength, kindness, and calmness radiating from the man. Something about the guard felt different from the other people bustling around the courtyard, laughing, chatting, or taking photographs. There was a stillness, a quiet authority, and Ethan's curious mind could not resist approaching. "Hello," Ethan said, his voice small but full of courage. He had a habit of greeting everyone he met, even if he could not see them. His parents smiled nervously from a few steps away. They had taught him to be polite but cautious, and today Ethan seemed to be blending both perfectly. The castle guard turned slightly toward the voice, a gentle smile appearing on his face as he recognized the boy's curiosity. "Hello there," he replied warmly, his voice deep and friendly. Ethan shuffled closer, his small fingers stretching out instinctively, trying to feel the person before him. "Are you a real knight?" he asked, a mixture of wonder and seriousness in his tone. Ethan believed knights were real. He had grown up listening to stories about brave men in shining armor protecting castles and people. In his mind, this guard must surely be one of them, standing in the same long tradition. The guard chuckled softly, bending down to match Ethan's small height. "Not a knight, little one," he said gently, "but I protect the castle just like a knight. My job is to make sure everyone inside stays safe and to watch over the history of this place." Ethan's eyes, though they could not see, seemed to widen with excitement. The word protect was important. Protect meant strength, bravery, and care, all the things that knights were supposed to have. Ethan's tiny hands reached forward, wanting to touch something, anything, that would give him a better understanding of the man in front of him. "Do you wear armor?" he asked. His voice was curious, tinged with awe. The guard laughed again, a warm, honest sound. He knelt even lower, letting Ethan feel the outline of his uniform with his small hands. "I don't wear full armor every day," he said. "But I wear something that protects me and helps me do my job. There are leather straps here, a small badge there. It feels strong, doesn't it?" Ethan's fingers explored carefully, tracing the smooth leather straps across the guard's chest, feeling the cool metal of the badge, and imagining the weight of the uniform. He imagined the stories behind it, the long days of standing watch, the responsibility of keeping people safe, and the quiet moments when only the castle walls heard a guard's thoughts. He could almost hear the distant echoes of knights practicing, swords clashing, horses galloping across the courtyard. His imagination transformed the guard's uniform into a real suit of armor. "Do you fight dragons?" Ethan asked, his small voice filled with hope. He had been told stories where dragons were part of the castle's history, even if only in legends. His parents laughed softly, but the guard knelt down and spoke carefully. "I don't fight dragons, Ethan," he said, "but I face challenges every day. Some are small, some are big. And every time I help someone, it feels a little like defeating a dragon." Ethan's small hands tightened with excitement. That made sense to him. Protecting people sounded like the greatest adventure of all. The boy listened carefully as the guard spoke. Every word painted a picture in his mind, a picture far brighter than anything sight could offer. He imagined the guard standing tall on the castle walls, watching over visitors, feeling the wind blow against his face, and listening to the whispers of history in the stones around him. Ethan's imagination made the invisible visible, turning words into pictures and words into real experiences. Then Ethan asked something he had been thinking for a long time. "Do you protect everyone inside, even little kids like me?" His voice wavered slightly, not from fear but from genuine curiosity. He had always wondered if someone could be responsible for a world bigger than himself. Could a person really care for everyone in a place as enormous as a castle? Could a stranger be someone who watched over him? The guard froze for a moment. Ethan's question was simple, but it carried so much trust. Here was a little boy, blind, placing his belief in someone he had just met. Officer James felt his heart swell. He could see the honesty and innocence in Ethan's posture, the way his small hands reached out for understanding. It was a rare moment, one that reminded him why he had chosen to work here. He wanted to be more than just a figure in uniform. He wanted to be someone people could trust. With a soft smile, the guard replied, "Yes, Ethan, I protect everyone inside, especially kids like you who are brave enough to explore the world even when it's hard." Ethan paused. Those words were like sunlight breaking through clouds. They filled him with warmth and a sense of safety. His tiny hands, still hovering in the air, felt lighter. The boy smiled widely, the joy of understanding and trust spreading through him. Ethan's parents watched quietly from a short distance, their hearts full. They had always encouraged Ethan to be curious, to explore, and to trust the kindness of others, but seeing this connection unfold in real time was more beautiful than they had imagined. Their son, who had never seen the world, was experiencing one of its purest truths, that sometimes strangers could be friends and simple words could feel like magic. Ethan continued to ask questions, each one a doorway into his imagination. "Does your sword feel heavy?" he asked. "Can it cut through dragons?" The guard chuckled, enjoying the boy's innocence. "My sword is heavy, yes, but it doesn't cut dragons, at least not real ones. It's for protection just like me. And every time I use it, I think about keeping people safe." Ethan nodded seriously, his small fingers pressing against the leather strap of the guard's uniform again. In his mind, the sword, the uniform, and the guard became one, a symbol of bravery, strength, and kindness. The boy's curiosity was endless. He asked about the castle, about the people who worked there, and even about the stories hidden in the stones. The guard patiently answered every question, describing rooms, towers, hidden passageways, and old stories of kings and queens. "The walls have seen so many things," the guard said. "They've heard laughter, tears, and whispers of secrets long ago." Ethan listened, closing his eyes for a moment, imagining every detail. He could almost feel the footsteps of people who had walked these halls centuries ago, feel their presence as if it were a living memory. After some time, Ethan reached out again, this time touching the guard's hand gently. "Thank you," he whispered. The guard's eyes softened. "You're welcome, Ethan. I'm glad we met." For a moment, silence fell between them, filled only with unspoken understanding. Two hearts connected without sight, without grand gestures, simply through trust and empathy. It was a quiet, powerful moment that would stay with both of them forever. Ethan's mind buzzed with stories. He imagined nights practicing in the courtyard, children laughing centuries ago, and guards standing watch under the sun and moon. Every description given by Officer James became a building block in his mental castle. Each story, each touch, and each word was a brick, forming a place he could explore even after leaving. The castle was no longer just stone and wood. It was alive in Ethan's mind, full of life, bravery, and kindness. The boy finally turned toward his parents, a wide smile on his face. "I like him," Ethan said simply. "He's brave, he protects people. And he's kind." His parents hugged him gently, feeling their hearts fill with love. They understood that today was more than a castle visit. It was a lesson in empathy, courage, and the incredible ways people can touch one another's hearts. As they walked away slowly, Ethan's small hand still lingering near the guard, he felt a sense of pride and wonder. He could not see the castle, but he had touched its history, its stories, and even its guardians. He had met someone who embodied everything a knight should be, not just strength, but kindness, protection, and patience. Ethan realized that bravery was not just in swords or armor, it was in hearts willing to care for others. Even as the group moved further into the castle, Ethan's mind returned often to that first encounter. He imagined the guard standing tall, watching over him and smiling down. The memory was more vivid than anything he had ever felt. He could not see, but he could remember. He could feel the warmth, the trust, and the courage. That moment had planted a seed in his heart, a belief that the world could be kind, brave, and beautiful, even when unseen. And for Ethan, that seed was just the beginning. Ethan's mind was still buzzing from his conversation with the castle guard, Officer James. The boy had never felt anything like this before. A stranger who spoke with kindness, patience, and understanding. Someone who made him feel seen even though he could not see. His small fingers still tingled from the touch of the guard's uniform, the feel of the leather and metal straps vivid in his memory. He wanted to know more, to understand the man who had become, for a brief moment, a real-life hero in his eyes. Ethan's curiosity had no limit. As he walked a few steps forward, he paused and asked, "Do you ever get scared?" His voice was soft, almost hesitant. He had always been told that bravery wasn't the absence of fear, but the courage to keep going even when one was afraid. For a boy who had never seen the world, fear was often imagined through sound and touch, but he had learned that kindness and courage could overcome it. Officer James looked down at Ethan, his eyes softening. He had expected questions about swords, castles, and knights, but this question touched him differently. "Sometimes," he admitted, "even guards get scared. The important thing is not letting fear stop you from doing what's right. Every day, I remind myself why I am here to protect people, to keep the castle and its visitors safe. That helps me feel brave." Ethan's small hands pressed together as if trying to absorb the wisdom in those words. "So, being brave doesn't mean you're never scared?" he asked. His tone was filled with wonder. The guard nodded. "Exactly. It means doing what you know is right even if your heart races or your knees shake. That is bravery." Ethan smiled softly. He thought about his own life. Being blind had taught him that courage was not always about running into danger. Sometimes it was about trying new things, asking questions, and reaching out to others, even when he did not know what would happen. "I think I'm brave," he said, a little proudly. "I touch things, ask questions, and I try to learn." Officer James laughed, a warm, joyful sound. "You are very brave, Ethan, and very smart too. You are learning about the world in ways most people never even think about." The boy felt a rush of happiness. Someone had recognized him, not for what he could or could not see, but for who he was and what he was learning. His heart swelled with pride, and he lifted his small hands as if to touch the invisible air around him, imagining that the world itself was nodding in agreement. "Do you ever get lonely?" Ethan asked next. His curiosity was endless and his questions were always gentle. He had felt loneliness before, not seeing the world as others did, but he also knew that connection, even brief, could fill a heart in surprising ways. Officer James thought for a moment. "Sometimes," he admitted, "being a guard can be lonely. There are long hours where the castle is quiet and all you have is the sound of your own footsteps. But moments like this, meeting someone who is curious and kind, make it all worth it. That's why I do this job, for moments like this." Ethan's heart leapt. He had never realized before that one small meeting could mean so much to someone else. It made him feel important, valued, and seen. "I like moments like this too," he said quietly. "I like learning and I like meeting people." He could feel the guard's presence leaning slightly closer, patient and attentive. Officer James smiled. "You remind me why it's important to always be kind and patient," he said. "Even a small conversation can make someone's day better." Ethan's tiny fingers brushed lightly against the guard's hand again, not fully touching but close enough to feel warmth. "Do you ever tell stories about the castle?" he asked, his curiosity now full of wonder. "Stories of kings and queens, knights and adventures." Officer James nodded slowly, remembering his first days as a young guard, when he too had been captivated by the legends and secrets of the castle. "Yes," he said. "Every stone, every wall has a story. Some are exciting, some are sad, some are happy. I try to remember them and tell them to visitors. It helps the stories live on." Ethan's imagination flared. He pictured long corridors filled with whispers of the past, secret staircases where footsteps echoed, and hidden rooms where important decisions had been made hundreds of years ago. Though he could not see these things, his mind built them vividly, piece by piece. "Can you tell me one story?" he asked eagerly. The guard hesitated, then began to speak, choosing a story both simple and magical. "Long ago, a brave young knight protected this castle. One night, a storm came, stronger than anyone had ever seen. The knight stood on the walls, listening to the wind and rain, guiding everyone to safety. His bravery kept the castle safe until the sun rose. And though no one remembers his name now, the castle still remembers him." Ethan's small hands trembled slightly as he imagined the scene. The wind in the story felt like the wind he had felt on the castle walls. The sound of rain in his imagination matched the soft drizzle he sometimes heard on his window at home. The knight, invisible yet real in his mind, became a hero to him, not just a story but a living example of courage. "He sounds brave," Ethan said softly. "I hope I can be brave like him." The guard's eyes softened. "You already are, Ethan," he said. "Bravery isn't only about swords and storms. It's about curiosity, kindness, and the courage to learn, even when things are hard." Ethan nodded, absorbing every word. For a boy who had lived in darkness, these words were light, guiding him forward and making him feel stronger. Then Ethan's voice lowered slightly, almost a whisper. "Do you think I could be a knight one day?" He did not mean in armor because he knew that was impossible. He meant in spirit, to be brave, to protect, and to care. Officer James smiled gently, kneeling down so that his voice was steady and close. "Absolutely," he said. "Being a knight is not about wearing metal or riding horses. It's about protecting what matters, helping others, and standing up for what is right. You can be a knight in every way that counts." The words filled Ethan's heart with warmth. He imagined himself as a knight, not with a sword, but with courage, kindness, and the determination to explore the world despite challenges. He could almost feel the invisible armor of bravery wrapping around him, giving him strength to continue his adventures. Ethan's parents watched quietly, unable to contain their tears of joy. Their little boy, who had never seen the world, was connecting with a stranger in a way that was pure and profound. He was learning lessons not just about castles or knights, but about life itself. And in the gentle presence of Officer James, he understood something important, that courage, kindness, and connection were the true treasures of the world. Ethan's curiosity did not end there. He asked questions about the castle's daily life, about the guards, and about the people who had lived there long ago. Officer James answered each one patiently, using words that painted pictures for the boy. "There are kitchens where delicious smells filled the air, halls where children laughed and played, and towers where people could see far across the land," he said. "The castle has been full of life for hundreds of years, and even now, every visitor adds a little story to it." Ethan's small hands pressed together as he listened, imagining himself walking through those halls, laughing, playing, and exploring. He imagined the kitchens and towers, the laughter of children long gone, and the steady presence of guards keeping everyone safe. Though he could not see, every word created a world alive in his mind, full of wonder, excitement, and history. At one point Ethan asked, "Do you ever get tired of being a guard?" Officer James paused. "Sometimes, yes," he said honestly. "Standing for hours can be tiring, and watching over so many people is a big responsibility. But moments like this, meeting someone who truly listens and learns, make it all worth it. It reminds me why I do this job." Ethan smiled softly, feeling proud that he had made the guard feel appreciated. "I like meeting people," he said quietly. "I like learning stories." The guard reached out gently, placing a steady hand near Ethan's shoulder. "And I like meeting brave kids like you," he said. "You remind me that even small moments can be important. You remind me that kindness and curiosity are the most important things in the world." For a brief moment, the castle felt quieter, almost magical. Ethan could feel it in the air, the weight of history, the whispers of stories, and the warmth of a connection he had never experienced before. He realized that bravery was not just about standing on walls or wielding swords. It was about heart, courage, and reaching out even when the world seemed large and unknown. By the time Ethan and his parents began to move forward, the boy's mind was alive with new stories. Every touch, every word, and every description from Officer James had become part of him. The encounter had changed something inside him. He felt stronger, braver, and more certain that he could face the world, even without sight. And as he walked away, small hands brushing the air as if touching the invisible, he knew that he had met someone who had become more than a guard. Officer James had become a symbol of courage, kindness, and protection, a real-life knight in a world that sometimes forgot the importance of gentle hearts. Ethan's small feet moved slowly across the castle courtyard, but his mind was running faster than ever. Every step seemed to carry the memory of Officer James's kind voice, the feel of his uniform, and the warmth of his words. For Ethan, the castle was no longer just stone walls and old stories. It had become a living place filled with people, courage, and kindness. And in the middle of it all was someone who had taken the time to truly see him, not with eyes, but with the heart. As he walked beside his parents, Ethan kept his hands lifted slightly, imagining that the air around him was full of stories, each one waiting for him to discover. "Mom," he said softly, his small voice carrying both curiosity and excitement, "I can feel the castle differently now. It's not just old stones. It's full of people and stories, even ones I can't see." His mother smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "That's right, Ethan," she said gently. "You're feeling it with your heart. You're discovering it in your own special way." Ethan nodded, thinking about Officer James. The boy had never felt so connected to someone he had just met. He remembered every word the guard had said about bravery, kindness, and protecting others. Those words stayed with him, echoing in his mind like a gentle melody. "I think I can be brave like him," Ethan whispered, almost to himself, "even if I can't see." His father glanced at him, sensing the depth of the moment. "You already are brave, Ethan," he said. "Bravery isn't about seeing or fighting. It's about heart, courage, and doing what's right. You are learning it every day." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of pride and understanding that he had never felt before. For the first time, he realized that courage was not something distant or only found in stories. It could live inside him, just like Officer James had shown. The family continued to explore the castle, moving slowly through narrow corridors and up winding staircases. Ethan's tiny hands ran along the walls, feeling every crack and curve. Each touch was like a conversation with the past, a connection to people who had walked these same halls centuries ago. He imagined children laughing and running, knights practicing their swordplay, and servants carrying meals and candles. The castle was alive with voices he could almost hear, and every sound added to the richness of his imagination. At one point, Ethan paused near a large wooden door. He could feel the grooves in the wood and the coldness of the iron handle beneath his fingers. "I can almost hear the stories behind this door," he said softly. "Do you think knights really walk through here?" His father nodded. "Yes, Ethan. Hundreds of knights, soldiers, and people have walked through these doors. Each one left a mark, a story. And now you're adding your story too." Ethan's small hands pressed against the door, feeling its texture, and he smiled. "I like that," he whispered. "I'm part of the castle now, even if I can't see it." The thought made Ethan feel powerful in a way he had never felt before. He realized that even though he could not see the world, he could still touch it, explore it, and leave his own mark. Every stone he felt, every word he remembered, and every connection he made was a way of being part of something bigger than himself. And Officer James had been the spark that made him feel this way. Ethan's mind wandered back to their conversation about bravery. He remembered how the guard had told him that being brave didn't mean never being afraid. It meant standing strong and doing what was right, even when it was difficult. That lesson stayed with him, shaping the way he thought about the world. He realized that bravery could be quiet, gentle, and kind. It didn't need to be loud or visible. It could live in his heart, in his words, and in the way he treated others. As they moved toward the castle garden, Ethan paused again. He could feel the grass under his small feet and the gentle breeze brushing against his face. He reached out instinctively, feeling the shapes of flowers and the curves of hedges. The garden was alive with scents, the fresh smell of roses, the earthy fragrance of soil, and the subtle sweetness of blooming flowers. Each scent told a story, adding another layer to Ethan's experience. He could almost hear the bees buzzing and the leaves rustling, and in his imagination, he saw the gardeners working centuries ago, tending to plants that had survived generations. Then Ethan remembered Officer James and wanted to feel that connection again. He reached out slightly, as if he could find the guard's presence lingering in the air. "I hope he remembers me," he whispered. "I want him to know that I felt his kindness." His mother placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "He will, Ethan," she said softly. "People like him never forget moments like this. You've touched his heart as much as he has touched yours." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He understood something important. That connection was not only about words or sight, but about feeling and trust. As they explored the garden, Ethan's father began to tell him more about the history of the castle, about kings and queens who had once walked these grounds. Ethan listened intently, imagining the grand banquets, the clinking of plates and glasses, and the laughter echoing through the halls. He imagined the queens in their elegant gowns, moving gracefully through the corridors, and the knights practicing drills under the morning sun. Every word built a vivid picture in his mind, making the castle come alive in ways no photograph or painting ever could. Ethan reached out and touched the edge of a stone fountain. He felt the smoothness of the carved stone and the coolness of water trickling over his fingers. He closed his eyes, imagining the fountain hundreds of years ago, perhaps filled with children laughing and playing, or with travelers resting during long journeys. He felt the history of the place, the life that had once moved through it, and the care that people had taken to build something that would last for centuries. "I feel like I'm part of it," Ethan said quietly. "Like I belong here even if I can't see it." His father nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "You do belong, Ethan. You've brought your own story here. Every step you take, every touch, adds to the castle's story." Ethan felt a sense of pride and joy he had never felt before. It was as if he had become part of a living, breathing history, not just a visitor passing through. After a while, Ethan's parents suggested they take a short rest on a bench under the shade of a large tree. Ethan sat down, his small hands still exploring the texture of the wooden seat and the bark of the tree nearby. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the breeze and the sounds of the garden fill him. And in that quiet moment, he thought of Officer James again, imagining the guard standing tall, watching over the castle and smiling down at him. The memory brought a sense of calm and happiness that Ethan had never felt before. "I want to be like him," Ethan whispered softly, more to himself than to anyone else. "I want to be kind, brave, and helpful. I want to protect people too." His parents exchanged a glance, their hearts full. They had always hoped Ethan would grow up to be kind and courageous, but hearing their son speak with such determination and understanding touched them deeply. They knew that this moment, this castle visit, and this encounter with Officer James would stay with him forever. Ethan's imagination continued to wander, picturing himself as a little knight in a world of stone walls, gardens, and hidden passageways. He could feel his small armor of courage and kindness wrapping around him, protecting him and guiding him. He imagined himself helping others, learning, exploring, and creating stories of his own. And in every story, he felt Officer James's words echoing, reminding him that bravery was about heart, curiosity, and care. The family eventually stood up to continue their exploration, but Ethan's thoughts remained with the lessons he had learned. He touched the walls, the trees, and the flowers as if he could leave a little piece of himself in each place. Every touch was a reminder of the connection he had felt, the courage he had discovered, and the kindness he had witnessed. As they began to walk back toward the castle gate, Ethan felt a sense of completion, as if he had not only explored the castle but had also explored something deeper within himself. He had discovered bravery, empathy, and the power of connection. And he knew that Officer James had played a big part in that discovery. The guard's patience, kindness, and willingness to share his stories had given Ethan something that no stone wall, garden, or fountain could ever give: a sense of hope, courage, and belonging. Before leaving, Ethan's parents allowed him to pause near the courtyard where Officer James had first knelt down to speak with him. The boy raised his small hand as if to reach out one last time, even though he could not see. "Thank you," he whispered softly. "I will always remember you." Though he could not see the guard's reaction, he felt a warmth in the air, a silent understanding that their connection had been meaningful for both of them. As they finally walked away from the castle, Ethan felt lighter, stronger, and more certain of himself. The day had been more than a visit, it had been a lesson in life. He had learned that courage was not about sight, strength, or weapons, but about heart, kindness, and connection. He had learned that even small moments could have a powerful impact. And most importantly, he had learned that one person's words and presence could change the way he saw the world, even without eyes. As Ethan and his parents walked away from the castle gates, a quiet calm settled over the boy. The sounds of the castle, the soft clatter of footsteps, the distant flapping of flags, the murmur of visitors, slowly faded behind him, replaced by the gentle rhythm of his own heartbeat. But even as the physical presence of the castle disappeared from view, its stories, its history, and most importantly, the lessons he had learned, remained alive in his mind and heart. Ethan's small hands moved through the air, brushing against the space around him, as if he could still feel the stone walls, the wooden doors, and the iron handles he had touched moments ago. "I can still feel it," he whispered softly. "Even though we're leaving, the castle is still here in my heart." His parents walked beside him, smiling quietly, amazed at how deeply their son experienced the world. They had always known Ethan saw the world differently, but moments like this made them realize that his perception was just as rich, vivid, and meaningful as anyone else's. "I want to tell my friends about it," Ethan said suddenly, his voice filled with excitement. "Not just about the castle, but about the guard, about how he protects people and is so kind. I want them to know you can be brave without seeing and strong without a sword." His father nodded, his eyes glistening with pride. "That's a wonderful idea, Ethan. You've learned something very special today. Sharing it will help others understand the true meaning of courage and kindness." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. He thought about Officer James, the guard who had made such a deep impression on him. The boy imagined the guard standing tall, ready to protect the castle, with a steady gaze and a gentle heart. Though Ethan could not see him now, he could feel the courage and kindness the man had shared. "I hope I can be like him every day," Ethan whispered. "I hope I can help people and be brave even when it's hard." His mother gently took his hand. "You can, Ethan. You already are. You've learned that being brave isn't about fighting or winning. It's about heart, courage, and helping others. That's true bravery, and it lives in you." Ethan squeezed her hand, feeling a surge of determination. He wanted to carry the lessons from today into every day of his life, to be a little knight in his own way, kind, curious, and brave. As they walked through the quiet streets leading away from the castle, Ethan's imagination continued to wander. He thought of the knights who had once stood guard, the children who had played in the halls, and the queens and kings who had walked through the gardens. He imagined the walls whispering secrets to each other, the fountains laughing softly, and the stones remembering every step. And in the middle of it all, he imagined himself, a small boy with a big heart, walking through it all with courage and joy. Ethan's father looked down at him and asked softly, "What was your favorite part of today?" Ethan paused, thinking carefully. "Meeting Officer James," he said finally. "He was brave and kind, and he listened to me. He didn't treat me differently because I can't see. He made me feel like I mattered." His mother smiled, brushing his hair gently. "He saw your heart, Ethan. That's the most important thing anyone can see. The boy nodded, understanding in a deep, quiet way that would stay with him forever. He realized that people's kindness could be more powerful than the strongest walls, and their words could leave marks on the heart that lasted longer than any stone or metal. He felt a gratitude that he could not fully express, but it filled him completely. As they continued walking, Ethan thought about the day in small, vivid details. The smoothness of the stone walls, the coolness of the fountain water, the sound of the wind through the flags, and the gentle voice of Officer James explaining the stories of the castle. Every memory was like a treasure, a piece of history that had come alive for him in a way that was completely his own. He knew he would carry these moments with him always, even if he could not see them with his eyes. Ethan's parents encouraged him to reflect on the lessons he had learned. "What will you remember most about today?" his father asked. Ethan thought carefully, his small fingers brushing against the air as if he could touch the invisible echoes of the castle. "That bravery isn't just about swords," he said, "and that being kind is as strong as being brave, and that people like Officer James can make you feel safe and happy even if you can't see them." His mother nodded. "Those are wonderful lessons, Ethan. And now you can share them with others. You can be someone who makes people feel safe, happy, and brave, just like he did for you." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of purpose growing inside him. He realized that the encounter had changed him in a way he didn't fully understand yet, but he knew it was important and that it would shape who he was becoming. As the family approached the edge of the castle grounds, Ethan's small hand lingered in the air, as if reaching back one last time. "Goodbye, castle," he whispered softly, "and goodbye, Officer James. Thank you for showing me bravery and kindness." Though he could not see the guard now, he felt a connection that was stronger than sight. He knew that Officer James's words and presence would stay with him forever, like a guiding light in his heart. Ethan's parents walked beside him, sharing in his reflection. They talked about how moments of kindness could change lives, how a simple act could leave a memory that lasted forever. "Today wasn't just about visiting a castle," his father said gently. "It was about learning life lessons, about understanding bravery, kindness, and the power of connection." Ethan nodded, feeling the truth of it deep inside him. As they reached their car, Ethan took a deep breath and felt the cool air fill his lungs. He could hear the sounds of the world around him, the hum of engines, the distant chatter of people, the wind rustling through trees, and he felt more alive than ever. The day had been an adventure, not in the usual sense, but in a way that mattered even more. He had explored courage, kindness, and connection, and he had discovered something about himself that he would carry forever. During the drive home, Ethan's parents encouraged him to talk about the day, to share his favorite moments and lessons. He described the feel of the walls, the sound of the flags, the story of the brave knight in the courtyard, and the gentle words of Officer James. With every word, his parents listened with pride and wonder, realizing that their son's experience had been as rich, meaningful, and powerful as any sighted person could have had. Ethan leaned back in his seat, his small hands resting on his lap. "I think today was the best day of my life," he said quietly. "I felt brave, I felt happy, and I felt like I belonged somewhere. And I met someone who showed me that being kind is the strongest thing you can do." His parents smiled, their hearts full. They knew that these words were not just about the castle. They were about life, about growth, and about the lessons that would guide Ethan for years to come. By the time they arrived home, Ethan was filled with energy and inspiration. He wanted to share the stories, not just of the castle, but of the lessons he had learned about bravery, kindness, and connection. He knew that these were the things that truly mattered, and he wanted others to feel the same sense of wonder and hope that he had felt. That night, as Ethan lay in bed, he thought about Officer James and the castle. He imagined the guard standing tall, watching over the grounds and smiling down at every visitor. He felt grateful for the kindness, patience, and courage that the guard had shared, and he knew that he would never forget it. For Ethan, the day had been more than an adventure. It had been a lesson in life, a story he would carry forever. Before falling asleep, Ethan whispered softly, almost as if speaking to the air itself, "I will be brave, I will be kind, I will help people. And I will always remember what you taught me, Officer James." He felt a sense of peace, a warmth in his chest, and a quiet joy that filled his heart completely. Even though he could not see, he felt as though he had discovered something brighter than anything his eyes could ever have shown him, the light of courage, kindness, and human connection. And with that, Ethan closed his eyes, dreaming of stone walls, flowing fountains, hidden gardens, and the gentle, kind presence of a real-life knight who had shown him the true meaning of bravery.